coordinate. That includes a document that's sort of like a CIP, but for all of Region 9, and it's called the Region 9 Transportation Improvement Program, which must be adopted every year. And then also a long-range transportation plan, which must be updated every 5 to 10 years. And it includes all larger projects in the Region 9 area. And we just completed the Region 9 Long-Range Transportation Plan in the summer of 2009, so about 2 years ago. We also are recognized by the federal government as the Economic Development District for the 5-county area. It's one of the only areas that's a 2-state area that actually we are served out of the Chicago district rather than the Denver district for economic development from a federal perspective. And so any larger projects that might need federal dollars, grant dollars, would, through the Economic Development Administration, would be coordinated and or the grant would be written by State Regional Commission. And that project would need to be recognized in this document, which is called the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. Bi-State prepares this document every 4 to 5 years, but then we do a update to it every year, so that in the appendices of this document, any larger project that any of our member governments are planning that have an impact on economic development, and almost any project you do has an impact on economic development, whether it's a roadway project, a sewer project, a water project, a downtown redevelopment project, then that is listed in this plan. And what that does is help our legislators, state and federal, able to say that that project has been planned for, it's recognized federally, and then you have a better potential of getting those grant dollars or potentially legislative directed dollars if those ever happen again. And the other thing that we do is the Public Officials Directory. We do this, and this is a hot item. In fact, this is hot off the press. Excuse me, my stuff keeps falling. I just got this today from our staff, and what we do is we update all the listings of all the public officials that serve that 5-county area, whether they be federal, state, or local, in the whole 5-county area. So if the mayor wanted to look up the name of a mayor someplace in Scott County, whatever community it might be, whether it's a population 200 all the way to the mayor of Davenport, wanted to know the phone number, the email address, that kind of information, or the city administrator wanted to look up the other administrators, that's all in this document. We actually receive many requests for this information. We update it twice a year, so because of the cycles of elections in both Iowa and Illinois. Again, this is a hot item, and we actually prepare it, then send it to every member government, a hard copy, and we place it on our website. So the city administrator will be receiving a copy of this document very shortly. Recently, besides those federal level kinds of projects, we are also considered the census repository, so we've assisted our member governments who have needed it in the recent 2010 census, and we've also are currently assisting them with any inquiries as to their census counts. Our staff answer data questions for all of our member governments and actually for the general public. So if any of you wanted to call our staff, we would be able to answer those questions, and I know that they're available on the website, but the website is very difficult to mine. Our staff uses that website literally every day. So our staff pretty much knows how to use it inside and out. So we'd be happy to help you with that. Our data staff also does GIS mapping. So if you ever needed data to be mapped to show something that you need, we would do that, and we would do that under your membership dues. So we'd encourage you to use us for data and for mapping whenever you need. Some recent projects that we're working on right now, for instance, because the census data just came out, is we're preparing a fact sheet. We're working with you, the city, and also the chamber on the development of a fact sheet that can be used as a marketing item for the city of Muscatine and Muscatine County in the whole. We're calling it a micropolitan area. We also have assisted the past 2 years, unfortunately not successfully, in writing a block grant for the city to try to extend service to the Ripley trailer courts. And we also have been helped this Muscabus in preparing brochures, besides all of the work that goes on with our regional projects that we do. We do a lot of grant writing, and happy to write grants for our member governments. And for you, if you have any types of projects that you would like us to look into to see if there's grant funding, there isn't always, as you know, but when there is, we're happy to assist you with those grants. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Oh, one final thing is we do operate a joint purchasing council, and the city of Muscatine in the last few years did begin participating in that joint purchasing council. And I think you purchase about 6 items through our joint purchasing council, and I'm sure that has saved money because our paper purchases sometimes have better bids than either of our states. And we purchase reams. We purchase semi-loads of paper 3 times a year for our joint purchasing council. So with that, I'd be happy to answer.
Council, questions or comments for Denise?
Where do you store that many, a semi-load of paper?
Well, what that semi-load is for the whole bi-state region. So what we usually bid is we bid it so it would be dispersed to your location where you would like to store it. In our location, we're housed actually in the Rock Island County building. Rock Island County provides us rental space. We have been there since 1966, and they provide us storage for our paper, but we also participate in the joint purchase bid.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody? No one? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have you here with us, and tell all our people hello.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks very much. All right, the next item on tonight's agenda, water pollution control plant renovation project update. I'm going to start that with Greg tonight.
Thank you, Your Honor. We actually have representatives from our engineering firm. We also have Roger and John Cook here as well. But we're going to start off.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Bob Veenstra, Veenstra and Kim, We're nearing completion of the 2.5-year construction of the water pollution control plant improvement project. Overall, it's a little over an $18 million project when you take all of the costs into consideration. We'll be wrapping up the construction in the next 30 to 60 days, and we anticipate having an open house for you and members of the community to come see the project sometime probably in the October time frame. But we thought it would be appropriate to come this evening and just kind of give an overview. We know that later on the agenda you have a change order, and we've put together a kind of a projection of where we think the final project cost would be, and just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a highlight of what's gone on during the construction. Whenever you go into an existing facility and make that many modifications, there's going to be some things that you didn't anticipate, things that were not quite like they were shown on the drawings or out in the field. So we had included in the project budget about $150,000 for those kind of changes that you would see during construction. And I think we're actually pretty close to, if not a little bit under that, for those kind of changes. One other thing that occurred during the construction of the project is that the city transitioned the plant from 24-hour operation to 12-hour operation. And as a result, to kind of going along with that, some of the monitoring equipment where you automatically monitor what's going on at the treatment plant, the decision was made that we needed to invest in making that a more robust system. When somebody's there all the time, when something goes on, you can react to it, even if there's not a lot of people. But when there's nobody there 12 hours a day, you need to have an extra level of redundancy so that if something fails, you still have kind of a backup system that would warn you. And so we've made some changes during construction to sort of make that more robust. Later on in the agenda this evening, you have change order number 8. And if you peruse that change order, the largest item in there of about a little over $29,000 is an example of what we did to kind of enhance the monitoring. What we have is we have two systems of monitoring, one sort of an ultrasonic monitor and then a kind of a backup system. But when the plant was staffed, we could tie those back together again to go back to the central monitoring system. Without the staffing in the overnight, we felt it was appropriate to have those more independent, so we were not as vulnerable to, say, if a computer failed, we wouldn't be sitting there without any notification if something happened. So we've invested probably somewhere in the range overall of $75,000 to $100,000 of improvements to try to enhance the monitoring capability so that it's more reliable when it runs unstaffed those 12 hours of the day. We really not had a lot of unforeseen changes, a lot of little things that occurred during construction. The contractor got off to a slow start because we had some wet weather at the period of time when they were trying to work outside and it was really more affected by them. They got behind a couple of 3 months. They've continued pretty much on schedule, but haven't really been able to make up that schedule. So we're anticipate wrapping up the project sometime in September, compared to the original completion date of the end of June. It's kind of one of those things that happens in construction, is that when you have a lot of weather, it's sometimes slip behind, and on the treatment plant, when it's kind of all goes together in pieces, it's difficult for them to make up time. We have 3 really action items relating to financial things that will be in addition to the routine pay estimates to wrap up the project. You have on your agenda this evening change order number 8, and that takes care of what we believe to be all of the things with the exception of one. There is one outstanding issue, and we're still in discussion with the contractor regarding it, and it's relating to some equipment on a part of the solids handling facilities. We anticipate there'll be a change order number 9, somewhere between $30,000 and the mid $40,000 range. We're still in discussion, so that number could go down. We know it won't go up. And so we've included in the project budget $40,000 just for the financial projection that we put together. But we would anticipate sometime in the next month or so, one of the council meetings will probably have another change order. There will also be a time extension request. City staff has felt that as the project moved forward, it made more sense to let the contractor work through and try to get everything done in a logical sequence rather than try to force them to sort of compress and make up that time when there really wasn't time to work through some of those startup issues that occur late in the construction project. So we anticipate there'll be an extension request. That in and of itself doesn't have any cost implications. But so the second item will be a change order that will probably have a time extension and resolve that one last outstanding issue regarding the dissolved air flotation units. The third piece is that we anticipate there'll be a request to amend the agreement for engineering services for 2 things. One is that the project has extended longer, and there's an adjustment of the inspection cost. Under the contract, it estimated what that cost would be based on 30 months. If you read the contract, that there was some flexibility recognizing that would go up or down. But because we're participating in the SRF loan program, we need to formalize those changes. Also, there were some modifications and adjustments, things that needed to be addressed during construction related to, for example, beefing up the monitoring system and analysis of the fiber optics network that's at the treatment plant. Those have sort of accumulated over the last 2.5 years, and they will be brought forward in an amendment. Overall, as I indicated in my letter to Roger from earlier this week, we anticipate that will be not more than $64,000. We anticipate that'll probably come forward about the same time frame that the change order request or to bring the project to a close will come forward. So overall, things are working well. The treatment plant is performing very well. We haven't had any real major glitches or anything during construction. As I walked in this evening, somebody said it's been a long time since I've been here. And in my business, when you're building a treatment plant, that's usually good. When you come during the project, it's usually because something untoward has happened and I don't want to be here, but you want to talk to me. So I think overall it's gone fairly well. Roger and the staff have been wonderful to work with. It's been a challenge while you rebuild your facility, because one of the things in a treatment plant, you got to keep running no matter what happens. The sewage keeps coming 24/7,